Okay, in this video, I'm going to give you some further explanations on the list of transition terms on pages 105 and 106 of your textbook. That would be the 4th edition of the textbook. If you have a different edition of the textbook, there might be different pages. In order to use this list correctly, you have to be aware that the terms are listed by logical function. In other words, the transition terms signal a logical relation between the ideas. So, depending on the logical relation between the ideas in your sentences, that determines which terms you choose. You can't just pick any terms from any of the categories to put between any two sentences. So what follows is a quick explanation of the different logical relation, and there are two warnings here, different kinds of logical relations, and there's two warnings here. Sometimes the categories can overlap, so some of the words, you actually find some of the words on the list can be in two different categories. That's kind of interesting. But more importantly, sometimes some of these words have special meanings and grammar considerations. Special meanings meaning not only are the words between the different categories not interchangeable, sometimes some of the words within the categories are not exactly interchangeable. And I'll explain that in this presentation. Also, there are some of the words have special grammar considerations. They can't be used in just any way. There's a particular ways they have to be used, and I'll explain those as we come to them. Okay, so the first category is addition. In general, that means two ideas of equal importance but independent of each other. That means actually these things don't have any logical relation between them. So an example here is, I like the smell of roasted peppers and I like the taste of apple seeds. The truth of either statement is independent of each other. So addition is just mushing two ideas together, and they don't necessarily have to have that strong a relation to each other. Okay, within the addition there are some warnings. Some of these words have more complicated implications. Their meanings in English have some subtle differences. The word besides is usually used in a list of reasons for or against something. So you're arguing for or against something, and this term is within that list. It's connecting two of these reasons. So for example, I don't have enough gas in my car to come out to visit you. Besides, I told you I never wanted to see you again. So besides, the person's listing two reasons for not doing something, and besides is connecting two of those reasons. So that's most of the situations, as far as I can tell, where you use the word besides. More warnings. Indeed and in fact denote elaboration. We've talked about this in class. Elaboration means you're explaining something in more detail. And I think they might even belong better on the elaboration list. I think maybe they don't really belong in the addition list. Moreover has a very distinct and subtle meaning in English. It means something like not only that, but also this. So you could substitute, if you could substitute that whole phrase within the sentence, then moreover is a good word to use. So not only that, but also this. That kind of has an emphatic quality to it. So in this sentence here, I don't have enough gas in my car to come out to visit you. Moreover, I told you I never wanted to see you again. So notice how you could also say in there, I don't have enough gas in my car to come out to visit you. Not only that, but also I told you I never wanted to see you again. So since that substitution shows you that moreover is a good word to use there. Elaboration. What follows gives a further deeper explanation of what went before. P.S. Further explanation is an important skill to develop, as I've said several times in class. It's a good skill for you to work on this quarter in English 101. Some warnings here. Actually implies that you are correcting a mistake. Think of, if you go back to that exercise we do, exercise 2. It's exercise 2 now in the 4th edition. Sorry, the slide's a little old. Introduction exercise 2. How the actually was working there was correcting a mistake. In short, and to put it succinctly, imply that what follows will be more concise than what went before. If you say in short, then the thing that comes afterwards should be shorter than the thing that came before. Some more warnings. To put it bluntly implies there is something unpleasant in what you're about to say, so what follows is going to have something unpleasant to it. Ultimately implies that what follows is the most important idea that you have presented so far. Here's an example. He could have talked to her beforehand. Ultimately, he has only himself to blame. Okay, so that's the most important idea in what's being presented. Okay, example. A kind of elaboration using a concrete description as opposed to an abstract principle. I love examples. If there's one thing that I think students could do more of in their writing is using examples. Here's a warning, within that list, the word after all means the same thing as ultimately. So once again, the thing that follows is in some way the most important thing of what you're saying in this, sort of section in this paragraph or in that part of the paper. Okay, now here's some grammar terms. I need to give you 2 grammar terms before we get to the next word. And that's IC, which stands for independent clause. IC means a string of words that could stand on their own as a sentence, although they can be part of a larger, complex sentence. Okay? And then the next one is phrase, which means a fragment, basically a string of words that could not stand on their own as a sentence, although they could be part of a larger, complex sentence. And we need to know that because of the grammar considerations with the following word from the example category. That would be the word consider. Consider is, sorry about that. It's not true, trust me. This is not counterfeit, I believe, trust me. Consider is an imperative verb and has to be part of an IC, has to be part of an independent clause. It's not a phrase all by itself. I'll show you when we come to some other words. We've seen, most of the words we've seen already are like this, where they could be a phrase by themselves. They're a word that's being attached to an independent clause, and you can tell that they're just attached by that comma. That means they're not a part of that independent clause. They're a phrase attached to the independent clause. Consider has to be within an independent clause. It's within a sentence. It cannot be set off by itself with a comma. I'll be explaining comma rules later in the week. So here's an example from the Bible. So it's got some old-fashioned language. And why take ye thought for raiment? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. Notice that consider there, it's an example, it's leading off an example for the sentence that came before, but notice that it's a part of the independent clause. That word is a part of a string of words making up a sentence. It can't be separated out. Consider the lilies of the field. All those words together are a single independent clause. Notice that the word consider is not set off by a comma. The next category here, cause and effect. This is definitely a matter of logical relation. One term is dependent on the other term. So, for example here, I am in a bad mood. As a result, everything annoys me. So the bad mood is the cause, and everything annoying me is the effect. And as a result is a transition phrase that lets the reader know that the thing before was the cause and the thing afterwards is the effect. All the terms on this list have the cause first and the effect second. So when you put the transition phrase in, the cause is before the phrase and the effect is after the phrase, except for the word since. In that situation is reversed. The effect comes first and the cause is second. So we look at the example here. I will smile anyway, since appearing happy keeps people from asking me what my problem is. The The smiling is the effect, and the principle that you have to stay happy or else people are going to talk to you. That's the cause of it. Notice I could have made another grammar note here. Since is similar to what I said about the consider, but for different reasons. Notice that since is not being set off by itself by commas. It has to be a part of the phrase that it's within. It cannot be set off all by itself. It has to be included within that phrase. Comparison. This is a kind of addition with the sense that the explanation for what came before applies to what came next. So here's an example from chemistry. With gases, higher temperature leads to higher pressure. Similarly, lower temperature leads to lower pressure. So there's two different phenomena going on there, but they both can be explained by the same principle. And so the word similarly is signaling that the thing that follows afterwards is to be understood because of the same idea for the thing that came before. They both have the similar explanations to each other, so that's why we have similarly there, connecting them. Contrast. Okay, these two ideas have important differences. So you're putting ideas together, but there's something about difference about them that you want to highlight. Okay, although, but, despite, even though, however, nevertheless, nonetheless, regardless, all can imply that the ideas would seem to contradict each other, but they don't. Now, so that's an important thing. So you're saying that you might think that these two ideas can't go together, however they can, like that. And here's an example. This is from philosophy. I think I've told you guys that I was a philosophy undergraduate. That was my major in college. And here's a famous sentence from a 20th century English philosopher called G.E. Moore. It is raining, however, I don't believe that it is raining. And the paradox there somehow is like both of those things can be true when it would seem that one can't be true if the other's true. That makes a paradox. So however, there seems to be a contradiction, but it actually isn't. More contrast, grammar warnings. Okay, these words, although, despite, whereas, and while yet, have to be a part of an independent clause. They are not phrases all by themselves. So for example, I did not remember to call, despite being told that it was very important to do so. So notice despite is within a string of words. It's not being set off all by itself by a comma. Okay? Now, here's an extra grammar warning, and this has to do with the word although. And I could go on at length about this. Something I've noticed in students the last years, and maybe going back to at least 5 years, maybe longer, is some students using the word although as if it meant the exact same thing as however. Now, however is a word that you can set off on its own. So you could have, like if you take a look at, this is the bad example here is something you shouldn't do. So this is a bad example, you shouldn't do it. So although, comma, they told me a long time ago. That's a wrong use of the word although. You could use the word however there, just like that. So however can be a phrase all by itself, can be set off by a comma and connected to an independent clause, but although has to be a part of a string of words. In fact, not only that, so you can't have that comma there, so although they told me a long time ago, but even that phrase, although they told me a long time ago, is still a fragment and has to be connected to another independent clause. If you don't follow the explanation, all you need to remember is do not use the word although as if it meant the same thing as however. Please don't do that. Concession. What follows goes against what was said before, but not enough to make what was said before untrue. So the example here, I should have called you. Granted, you told me a long time ago, but I should have remembered it anyway. So the concession here is a sense of like when you're arguing, you bring up something that goes against what you said, but it still doesn't. It's not going against what you said enough for you to change your mind. You still believe it. You maybe don't believe it exactly as strongly as you did before, or it doesn't cover as much ground as you might have thought of before. So you're making a concession. There is something sort of to take less in what you believe, but you still believe that main thing. So it's kind of like a kind of qualification in an argument, and we can talk about that when we get to argument. Grammar warning here, although it is true, has to be, again, this is another one of those ones that has to be part of an independent clause. It is not a phrase that could be set off by itself and connected to an independent clause. Has to be part of the independent clause. For the example here, I should have remembered, although it is true that you told me a long time ago. So you notice that the although it is true is not set off by commas. It has to be connected with the words in the whole string of words there. It has to be a part of it. Conclusion. So getting to the very end of things with the category of conclusion. Signals that the last thing you're going to say. So this signals that you come to the last thing that you're going to say. It also denotes inferences. What goes before implies what goes afterwards. Note how many terms on the list are also on the cause and effect list. Okay, so conclusion, cause and effect connections are kind of conclusions, sort of like a therefore. This is true, therefore that is true. Like that.